Hi, Rick.
Hey Sarah, how you doing?
Good. Good afternoon. Good to see you again.
Likewise, likewise.
Yeah. So I'm excited to learn about the new topic that you are going to share with us today.
I'm excited to tell you about them.
Wonderful. So we have we wait 1 minute for the time to turn to 2 o'clock. So here we are. It's 2 o'clock. We are live. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for turning in and welcome. Welcome to our weekly live history chat. Today, again, I just want to to let you know that we are going to talk with Rick Rhodes. So I'll just show his banner real quick, and then we'll get into the show. So this is Rick Rhodes. He's an authority on history, and he wrote his the newest book, his 10th book. They made America great. So we are going to dive into that real soon. So um, I'm going to introduce Rick to you, so you know a little bit about Rick. Um, today a 10-time nonfiction book author and authority on American history, is the presenter for us today. He spent most of his adult life living aboard boats and has traveled far and wide in the America. Let's welcome Rick Road. Rick,
Thank you, Sarah.
welcome. Yes.
Yeah, I have traveled a good bit. I hiked the Appalachian Trail, motorcycle all over the country, and I've even lived in South America. Been all over down there. Not way down south, but a lot of the countries in all of Central America. And I sailed the Western Caribbean. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is you, and the important thing is getting my message out on American history. In a country today, we're so people don't know their history, and it's going to be unfolding. I know when I was a kid, we took history and geography and civics, and I think people don't know that now. But today, in my 10th book, as Sarah has said, we're going to talk about one character. His name is David Crockett. He never called himself Davy or never signed his name Davy. He wasn't born on a mountaintop. He was born in a valley, and he never wore a coonskin cap. And he was played by all these big guys like John Wayne and Fess Parker. Well, he was average or maybe slightly smaller built than average. David Crockett. Now, I like him because he was outspoken. He was a colorful character. There's no doubt about that. He grew up very poor, though. He was often rented out, and he had 9 siblings. Well, he was one of 9, and his father was very poor and always in debt, and rented him out as a child. And his grandparents were killed by marauding Native Americans. But fast forward 50 years in his life, he went out of his way to take a trip to Congress. He was a congressman to speak out against some of the things that were doing bad to the Native Americans in this country. So I like him for that. And he was one colorful character. He cheated debt several times. He was almost killed in a Mississippi road boating accident. He like you and I, sir. He got malaria and he almost died. He had it real bad for 2 weeks. He was very close to death. Another time, a bear almost mauled him. And he has a philosophy on that. If a man's meant to be hanged, he will never be drowned. So he had some really homespun crazy. It's not crazy at all. It's uh, it's homespun wisdom from this hard scrabble streets where he grew up. And people, life was short. His wife that he bore him 2 children passed away, and he married again in a practical, to another widow. He was a widower, and so life was rough on the frontier, and he became a congressman from Tennessee, Western Tennessee, and he wanted to help the poor and downtrodden. before he did that, he was a soldier in the War of 1812, and he was a very good soldier. He didn't really like hierarchy, and he met a couple people there, Sam Houston and Andrew Jackson. It seems like anybody that knew anybody in those days, if you were in a battle of the War of 1812 and against the Cherokee down in Georgia and Alabama, they all knew each other and they all grew up to be something. And he was one of those, and he became a congressman. And he wanted to look out for his constituents. He had some great things. He had some great one-liners as a congressman. As a frontiersman, he said some great things. He said, "I've always supported measures and principles, not men." Boy, that's timeless. Let your tongue speak what your heart thinks. Again, that's good stuff. He's this one I like. I ain't used to oily words. I speak what I think. Boy, I mean, how many congressmen today could use a lesson for that? I want to get people to live to get what they need to live, enough food and a place to live and education for their children. Speaking of education, David Crockett could barely read and write. He could read and write, but not very well. And when he was on the campaign trail, he was colorful. He would order booze and whiskey. That I guess both those days they drank whiskey, and he'd lubricate the crowd while his serious opponent is sitting there talking about politics. And David just said, let's just have some more whiskey and have fun. And this is what I think. Now that wouldn't work today, and I don't think I really recommend it. But back then, I can appreciate the guy. He was his own man, and he was his own color. And he tried to really, when he got to Congress, he sounded like a bumpkin, and he was in some ways. But when he got to Congress, he was serious. He looked out to try to help people in Tennessee, and he really wanted to make life easier. And one of his friends there, well, he was a one-time friend during the Battle of 1812 in Alabama and Georgia, was Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was also a Tennessean, and he liked David Crockett initially. But then the way Andrew Jackson was treating Native Americans, Davy Crockett did not like that. He saw the duplicity in Andrew Jackson. And he also met Sam Houston, another Tennessean. I think Sam Houston was the only person to be a governor of two states, was Tennessee and Texas. So he met a lot of interesting people in the War of 1812, and he went on to be a congressman, and something very bad happened. Well, the the Indian Removal Act about 1829, 1834 went on, and Davy Crockett said, "That's not right. We shouldn't be doing that to these people. They've been on this land a long time." And there's another way around it. And Davy Crockett went at the Congress to vote against it. Although he did vote against it. The Indian removal plan went on ahead, and Andrew Jackson did not appreciate it. And another Tennessean named James Polk, who later became a president of the United States, they all were massed against Davy Crockett because he was doing all these. He was speaking out his moral. He was a moral man, and long story short, when he did all this stuff against the Native or for the Native Americans, he said, "I was expected that I bowed to the name of Andrew Jackson, even at the expense of my own conscience and judgment." And that's a strange thing for me to do, and I will not do it. Something to that effect. I have never knew what it was to sacrifice my own judgment to gratify any party, and I have no doubt the time being close at hand, I'll be rewarded for letting my tongue speak what my heart thinks. He was his own man, and he didn't belong to any political party. Yes, he did belong to a political party, but he did not. He did not. He did his conscience, and he looked out. He did have a responsibility. He felt to the people of West Tennessee, which he represented. Well, anyway, he ran for Congress 3 times. The third time he lost. The forces of Andrew Jackson were amassed against him, and he was voted out of Congress. And he said, "The heck with you." And he said, "Well, what did he say? I would rather be my own man than be a puppy dog and be in charge. And I'd rather be beaten like a man than be elected and be a little puppy dog." And as he was leaving Congress, he said, "You all may go to hell. all this fellow, and I'm going to Texas. Well, he goes to Texas at his friend Sam Houston's urging, and within a couple months, he's in the Alamo. Well, we might know what happened in the Alamo. The Alamo was actually Mexican for 100 years before. And General Santa Anna said, the Texans cannot come in here. Texas, they were not all white Texans, they were Mexican Texans too. And they were all killed. 180 of them were killed in the Alamo, including David Crockett. They say David Crockett tried to build everybody's spirits up. He was a colorful guy, slapping everybody on the back and telling jokes and stories. But he died in the Alamo as he lived. He did not. His life was not one. It was not an easy life whatsoever. Rented out, but he did what we thought was right, and he didn't care. The devil be damned what circumstances were, and I love him for that. But anyway, you're free to. So you're free to ask me some questions, Sarah, if you want to.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really interesting person. Thank you, Rick. So I wish that we have a lot more time for you to tell more about this wonderful person. So my first question for you, what drew you to choose David Crockett for your 10th nonfiction book?
Oh, he was a colorful guy. He, I guess, in all my characters, they stand out. And David Crockett did not. I guess a Chinese proverb: "Nail that stands up is going to get beaten down." Well, David Crockett was a nail that stood up, and he got beaten down, and he stood up again. He got beaten down, and he stood up again. He was quite the character. He was his own man in a time when not many, even today, there are people that are not their own. David Crockett, he didn't care what other people thought. That's what I like about him. He did what he thought was right. Even if it was wrong, he did what he thought was right. And that's what I
Mm,
like about David Crockett.
okay, thank you for that. So tell us more about the relationship and similarities between David Crockett and Sam Houston.
Well, they were both from Tennessee, and they both fought in the War of 1812. They both fought they fought the Creek Native Americans in mostly Alabama, but a little bit of Georgia too. And they got to get along. David Crockett was a very good huntsman, and they both developed an appreciation for the Native Americans. Sometimes you can develop an appreciation for your opposition or your enemy, even though he's trying to kill you. And they both did. I think Sam Houston married a Native American woman, and David Crockett had to develop a respect, and they respected each other. They were both tough guys. They're both more. Houston was pretty badly wounded, and Crockett almost died of malaria. So they experienced life and death, and they became good friends on the battlefield, fighting on the same side.
Hmm, that's wonderful. So before I ask you the next question, I'm going to show the picture of David Crockett. Let's see if I can find his picture.
Not a big man.
Yeah, let me find his picture for the audience.
Sure. Not Fess Parker, not John Wayne, just a little guy.
Oh, I see. Yeah, for some reason I cannot move my cursor.
Yeah.
Um, yes. Oh, just give me 1 minute. I will find it. I should be able to find it. Anyway, hmm. Uh, anyway, let's not wasting time.
Yeah. He was played by big men, Fess Parker and John Wayne, and maybe even Johnny Cash, but he was not like that at all. He was a small man, and the picture kind of says that. But yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, let's. My next question for you is, what are there any lessons we can we can draw today from David Crockett?
Well, David Crockett is a hero today. And well, I can't call him a friend of mine. He went to my same high school. Stanley McChrystal wrote a book. He's a four-star general. I went to West Virginia. He went on to West Point, get 4 stars. But he wrote a book on leadership about 8 years ago, and he picked David Crockett as one of his examples. And leader David Crockett exemplified real leadership. It was not popular, but it was real leadership. And he wasn't oily, like you said. He was not slippery. He did not care what the political ways were doing. He did what was right in his eyes, and what was right in his eyes was right for America and right in the long term. So yes, they are lessons for us today to do right and don't be popular. And he was a great. He was picked out by many, as including that book by McChrystal, as a great leader.
Hmm. So I found his picture. I'm going to show it right here.
Great.
Yeah. So that's the his picture. Yeah, he looked like a small man.
Could barely read or write,
Wow.
but a
But
legend in his own time as a frontiersman.
mm, but he has a good heart. So
He,
let me see. Yeah, let me see if there is any question from the floor.
sure.
Everybody, if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Just put your information in the chat, and let me take this picture away from us. And guess what? I forgot to introduce myself again.
Well, it's a good time.
I um I get too excited uh, to talk about these wonderful people. Although they pass on already, but they leave a legacy. They leave the quality of their character uh, with us for us to learn from. So I'm going to share with you my information in case we have new viewer that never know me before. So if you have any question, feel free to contact me or Rick. I'm going to post Rick's banner again. So here is Rick's banner. Hope you can read it. You can expand the screen. His website is rickrhodes.com. His first name and last name, rickrhodes.com. You can find his book there. You can invite him to talk at your group. So if you have a book club, that would be an ideal book for discussion as well. Either book club or you have a group get together somewhere somehow and you want him to come and tell more story. He have 31 stories just from that book alone.
I do, and more. Yeah, I have more than that, but 31 in that book alone, exactly.
Right, just from the book alone. So and I will show my contact information right here on the screen. Feel free to reach out to me. Um, if you have any question, if you have book that you like me to support you somehow, some way, or have a conversation with you um, at a different time, just reach out to me. I will try to make time for you. So I'm waiting for your question from the floor. If you have question, please feel free to post it. And if no question, I'd like to ask Rick if any other thought that he want to share about David Crockett.
Boy, well, what can I say? He did not care what the world thought of him. He did not. When he was a politician, he did not. He was a party. I think it was Democratic, Republican, same party as Andrew Jackson. But he didn't care. He fought. He voted his heart, and he took care of his people. Even though he was a wise guy, and he was a legend in his own time. They wrote a book, The Lion of the West, about him in a play, basically. He didn't care what people thought. He voted his conscience and his heart. And I guess in our short lives, that's all God wants us to do is to be who we are and tell the truth and not be beholden to some other opinion or some political party or something. David Crockett understood death. He knew it and he saw it close hand and he lost his wife, but he knew his new life was short and he knew he cheated death a few times, but he basically led his life like it was no tomorrow, and God bless him for that. I think more people need to do that instead of being, you know, politically correct all the time.
Mm, yeah. Thank you for sharing that viewpoint. So I guess our audience does not have any question. That's okay. When you watch the replay on a Facebook page, Sarah M. Speaker Author, that's my page, or you can watch it in a group, a Christian Professionals Network of Tampa Bay. It's in that group. Um, Feel free to ask any question. If you would like to order the book, Rick's website is on the screen. Feel free to reach out to him and order it. I'm sure he will autograph it before he send it out to you. Yeah, that's the nice thing about buying direct from the author. You get the autograph copy. I always do autograph my book before I send out. So
Yeah,
in
put
case,
on there.
yeah, in case we have a new viewer, I also have a book. I'm I'm author this book. It's called How I Survived the Killing Fields. That's my book, and that's part of the history also. The Killing Field is in the history book.
Yeah,
That
more people ought to know about that. 2 million out of 7 million people died in Cambodia between 1975 and 1979. Let's not forget that. Wow.
yeah, yeah, it's in history. So I'm a living history. I have been there, and I'm I'm here. I'm still alive to show that yes, that event had happened, and a lot of people did not make it through. But I'm grateful that I made it and I'm survived. And I want to share to the world that uh, some of the lesson that we can learn from the history. That's the nice thing about the history. It's the true story, and you can learn a lot from the history. You can
Mark
learn what not to do to avoid the same problem.
Mark Twain said, "If history doesn't repeat itself, it surely rhymes."
Mm, yeah. So yeah, with Rick and I, we both can talk about history. Well, I think we don't have any more um, question from the audience, and I'll let you go early today. Next week, I I am traveling to Lakeland to speak, so I might not be back on time. So we will skip next week. I don't want to rush driving. I don't want to get into the accident, right? Right, right. You
Yeah,
want me?
you
You
have experience with that, don't you?
so we will miss you next week, but the following week will be back at the same time at 2 o'clock, just at the same place where you are watching right now. We will live stream into the same page. So we hope that you come back and support Rick. He spent a lot of time writing this. He feel like something will be good for the next generation to learn. So okay, we have one comment. Hold on. Some reason it doesn't show. Oh, let's see. I was late coming on, so we'll watch your replay. Okay. Thank you for letting us know. Yes, it will. The replay will be on my page, and wherever you are watching right now, it will be at the same place. You can watch the replay. So thank you so much. And again, next week we will skip one week, and we'll come back the following week. So have a wonderful day and take care.
Thank you,
God bless
Sarah.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Rick. Bye.